there is no response similar to that one from United States to the Soviet Union. It stops halfway somewhere. It never reaches here. The theory of subversion goes all the way back 2,500 years ago. The first human being who formulated the tactics of subversion was a Chinese philosopher by the name of Sun Tzu. 2,500 years BC. He was an advisor for several imperial courts in ancient China. And he said, after long meditation, that to implement state policy in a warlike manner, it's the most counterproductive, barbaric, and inefficient to fight on a battlefield. You know that war is continuation of state policy, right? So if you want successfully to implement your state policy and you start fighting, this is the most idiotic way to do it. The highest art of warfare is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy, until such time that the perception of reality of your enemy is screwed up to such an extent that he does not perceive you as an enemy, and that your system, your civilization, and your ambitions look to your enemy as an alternative, if not desirable, then at least feasible. Better red than dead. That's the ultimate purpose, the final stage of subversion, after which you can simply take your enemy without a single shot being fired, if the subversion is successful. This is basically what subversion is. As you see, not a single mentioning of blowing up bridges. Of course, Sun Tzu didn't know about blowing up bridges. Maybe there were not that many bridges at that time. But the basics of subversion is being taught to every student of KGB school in USSR and to officers of military academies. I'm not sure if the same author is included in the list of reading for American officers, to say nothing about ordinary students of political science. I had difficulty to find the translation of Sun Tzu in the library of a university in Toronto and later on here in Los Angeles. But it's a book which is not available. It is forced to every student in USSR. Every student who is taught to be dealing further in his future career with foreigners. What subversion is? Basically, it consists of 4 periods, time-wise. If we start from here and go this way, time, right? This is the beginning point. The first stage of subversion is the process which is called, basically, demoralization. It says for itself what it is. It takes from, say, 15 to 20 years to demoralize a society. Why 15 or 20 years? This is the time sufficient to educate.
Just wanted to quickly point something out. When he says demoralization, what he means is the removal of morals rather than, obviously, I think we use demoralized in a little bit of a different term, don't we? But I think he's using it as a literal translation. So he means the lowering in the morals that people have.
Moral standards is actually what we conceptualize today as moral relativism. This is kind of going back to what I was saying about, like, you know, your right to sovereignty, your right as a country to be proud of your country, to have a national identity. So you're told that you're not allowed to because, like, your country's done bad things. So how could you ever possibly stand in judgment of another country, which is what is going on right now with the Uyghur Muslims? That is the log line. How dare you? How dare you have a problem with it? You're just using that as a smokescreen to obscure the conversation.
Absolutely.
Your own guilt, your own evil. Like,
you know, let's not forget as well that China said themselves when they had that, you know, that they had that sort of meeting up in Canada. Canada, a very sympathetic, maybe not nation, but they have a leader very sympathetic to China. When they had the meeting between the American ambassadors and the Chinese ambassadors actually got up and said, look at how you treat black people in your own country.
Yes.
In the middle of the BLM riots.
Yep. No, they use that as a pressure point, a leverage point, being like they tried to say that on a globe because that's for the globe.
Exactly.
That's not
other
for
people.
Wasn't even really for for American citizens. Although you'd find plenty of people here that are sympathetic and be like, "Yeah, what about that?"
Yeah.
Like, you have a fucking dishonest state actor spewing propaganda, and you're like, that is interesting, something to think about.
Yeah, a country that has 1 million people in a concentration camp, and they're talking to you about the way you treat people.
Yeah.
One generation of students or children, one generation, one lifetime span of a person, a human being, which is dedicated to study, to shaping up the outlook, ideology, personality. No more, no less. Usually it takes from 15 to 20 years. What it includes? It includes influencing, or by various methods, infiltration, propaganda methods, direct contacts, doesn't really matter. I will describe them later. Of various areas where public opinion is formulated or shaped: religion, educational system, social life, administration, law enforcement system, military, of course, and labor and employer relations.
That's crazy.
Okay? 5 areas. I will not write them down because we will not have enough space.
Because you literally can see that happening.
Sometimes when
that's literally what is happening right now, and it's infected every aspect of our culture. Like, even like, because it was a few months ago, maybe a month and a half ago or whatever. There's a YouTube channel that people can check out if they're interested. It's called Woke Preacher Clips, showing you how crazy modern like religious institutions are. They're all like embedded. They're like all fucking Marxists.
Yeah.
They're all like socialists, and they're all like social justice warriors and crazy shit that they disseminate to their flock, to their parishioners and stuff. Like, I was taken aback. I had a little bit of a unique upbringing when it came to religion. I was raised, pretty traditional Catholic, and but the churches that I was involved with were a little bit on the outs of the mainstream, a little weird, honestly, and but maybe that was a good thing. But like, so I was kind of insulated from that stuff, and I'm, in long since lapsed Catholic, but coming back to it, I was like taken aback. I was shocked. I could not believe how fucking wild some of that shit coming out of those people's mouths was. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's the same here, dude. Like, and charities as well. What's that charity that tries to help people that are usually homeless on the street? Really famous one. The Salvation Army.
Yes, the Salvation Army. Yeah, they're very woke.
Yeah, like, dude, crazy woke. And you just think, like, I don't get how a sort of traditional Christian or Catholic, I mean, I guess they're both similar, but like how that can intertwine with wokeness, like the same sort of things. I just, like, if God made you this way, but apparently you're just going to annihilate those, so with trans, God made you this way, give you a nice healthy body, you're just going to destroy it because it's just crazy to me. I don't see how they can.
Well, because it just like extends this idea of charity and not treating people poorly into an absurd place. Because you could say, like, if you're a Christian person and you were to see like a trans person, that doesn't mean you can't have like Christian empathy or want to help that person or not, reject that person on an individual level. But that does not mean you need to buy into like the ideological framework of it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Like, it was one of those woke preacher clips. Like, there's a guy who is like I don't know if he's Baptist or something, like advocating for abortion. And I'm not saying how anybody should feel about abortion, but the idea that a Christian organization,
that's crazy,
like, was saying like, well, so many people do it. How can I stand and judge? How can it really be evil if so many women do it? I was like, are you fucking that's it? That's an argument that came into your head?
Yeah.
Like, well, lots of people do it. Well, Joe Rogan, lots of people say the N-word, so I think you're fine.
Yeah. It's just bananas, man. Like, I can't believe what's going on in religion these days. But
well, because it's an extension of like that's like what he's talking about. And I thought it was interesting that he brought it up, because it really is that. It is like that. It's like systemically working through every aspect of your culture.
Yeah.
To demoralize you.
If you like that, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Describe all the methods. Students ask me question, Are you sure this is the result of the Soviet influence? Not necessarily. You see, the tactic of subversion, about which I'm talking, is similar to the martial art, the Japanese martial art. If some of you are familiar with that tactic, probably you will remember that if an enemy is bigger and heavier than yourself, it would be very painful to resist his direct strike. If a heavier person wants to strike me in the face, it would be very naive and counterproductive to stop his blow. The Chinese and Japanese judo art tells us what to do. First to avoid the strike, then to grab the fist and continue his movement in the direction where it was before, right? Until the enemy crashes in the wall. You see? So what happens here? The target country obviously does something wrong. If it's a free democratic society, there are many different movements within the society. There are obviously, in every society, there are people who are against the society. They may be simple criminals, ideologically in disagreement with the state policy, conscientious enemies, simply psychotic personalities who are against anything, right? And finally, there are a small group of agents of a foreign nation, bought, subverted, recruited, right? The moment all these movements will be directed in one direction, right? This is the time to catch that movement and to continue it until the movement forces the whole society into collapse, into crisis, right? So that's exactly the martial art tactic. We don't stop an enemy. We let him go. We help him to go in the direction we want them to go, okay? So on the stage of demoralization, obviously there are tendencies in each society, in each country, which are going to opposite direction from the basic moral values and principles. To take advantage of these movements, to capitalize on them, is the main purpose of...
Really, really quickly, where it says Thomas Schumann, Russian defector, KGB propaganda specialist. For those that don't know, that's because at this point, as you can see, he was living under the name of Thomas Schumann.
Yeah.
People didn't know that he was a KGB agent, I think. But this could be that, because I know he changed over at one point. So this might be the one where he actually does talk about the fact that he was a KGB agent.
I know there's a short, I think it's like a 15-minute clip, and he's talking to one other guy, like it's an interview, and it's basically the short version of this talk, I think. I think he is out at that point. Okay. So I think he's even being called Yuri.
Okay.
The originator of subversion. So we have religion, we have education, we have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations, unions, and finally we have law and order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? These are the areas of application of subversion. What it means exactly, in case of religion, destroy it, ridicule it, replace it with various sects, cults, which bring people's attention, faith, whether it is naive, primitive, doesn't really matter. As long as the basically accepted religious dogma is being slowly eroded and taken away from the supreme purpose of religion, to keep people in touch with the supreme being, that serves the purpose. Therefore, replace it, accepted, respected religious organizations with fake organizations. Distract people's attention from the real faith and attract them to various different faiths. Education. Distract them from learning something which is constructive, pragmatic, efficient. Instead of mathematics, physics, foreign languages, chemistry, teach them history of urban warfare, natural food, home economy, your sexuality. Anything.
Yeah.
So the people, the Californians in that room are laughing at the absurdity of what he's just said, which is that during periods of subversion, children will stop being taught things that are functional, practical things that will help them, engineering, mathematics. And I see this today with my son, who during English classes is taught how wonderful it is to be transgender, what a wonderful organization Black Lives Matter are, how amazing Meghan Markle is and Prince Harry.
Jesus Christ. I thought you guys turned on them.
Well, everyone has, but this is what he's talking about and what I'm talking about. Subversion. Once these people are, once their minds are melted, again, as he talks about education, you get the people you get the teachers on your side.
Of course.
I sent something this morning where like a teacher, listen, whatever anybody thinks of Boris Johnson, like there was this teacher that was getting her kids to write letters about all of the scandals that had ever been passed under the Conservative Party's membership. It's crazy. So everything here that they're and then what did he talk about? Specific food types or healthy, not healthy eating, but
yeah,
yeah,
the vegans.
So yeah.
Well, no, I completely agree. It's one of the listening to something like this, like is how you know you've kind of turned the corner into being an old man, like you've become your father. Because like this is the kind of things my dad used to like rant about, and now I've just come full circle. Because like we come from a generation that was raised to be like, oh, let's be a little bit more open minded. Oh yeah, like I like the arts, I like sociology. I like those kinds of things. So that's the kind of things I'd like to pursue. I don't have really practical, realistic goals for my life. I feel I live in an opulence bubble, as Dan Prophet would say. Like, as a culture, we've had it so good that we don't have to care about anything that matters anymore. There's only a matter of time before that catches up with you. Because now then there's going to be no way to stop anything real from happening anymore. And, and especially with which I'm sure what he kind of is getting at here is a lot of this gives the state complete control of your life because you don't know how to fucking do anything else.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do anything for yourself. You can't be part of anything. You just exist. And you're waiting to be told what to do and what to think and how to feel. And it's disturbing.
You're just a propaganda mouthpiece and a voter.
Yeah, to keep up the illusion that we're all actually doing things for our own benefit. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to happen because we are nothing but receptacles for propaganda.
Exactly.
In a lot of ways, yes.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish